It is time now for the Sweetheart program, brought to you today here on Reach Broadband Channel 6 as well as MuleshoeTV.com by Hereford Feed Ingredients.
Pat and Max King are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, and they are our sweethearts for today. The war in Vietnam was raging, along with the race riots in Watts. Miniskirts were in fashion. Skateboards were very popular, and so were the Beatles. The year was 1965, and here in Muleshoe, Mr. and Mrs. Max King were married on January the 30th at the First Methodist Church. On your 50th wedding anniversary, Pat and Max, you are our sweethearts, being honored by David and Liz Tips at Hereford Feed Ingredients. Pat Barrett and Max King first date was to a dance in 1956 when they were just in the 8th grade. In those days, young people could get their driver's license when they turned 14. So Max was able to pick up Pat and take her to the dance. But they really did not start dating until Christmas of their freshman year in college. Hereford Feed Ingredients at 232 South Main here in downtown Muleshoe, David and Liz Stips want to join with Gillam Advertising Channel 6 to congratulate you, Mr. and Mrs. Max King, on your 50th wedding anniversary. Max and Pat both graduated from Muleshoe High School in 1960. They were both very active in school. Max was editor of the high school annual, The Mule Train, and president of the Mighty M Band. Pat was a twirler in that band and football queen. However, they never dated in high school. Pat went to North Texas and Max to Tech. She transferred to Tech after her roommate got married, and her father enticed her to come closer to home by giving her a car. Now, I wonder if Max had a little bit to do with her moving to Tech also. During college days at Texas Tech, almost every weekend, they would both come home to Muleshoe so Max could work for his father, Harold King, who had King Grain and King Feedlot. In 1983, they sold the feedlot. In December of 1964, they both graduated with a business degree from Tech and were married the next month. Their honeymoon was to Ruidoso and on to El Paso. Hope and Harold King had just purchased a cabin in Ruidoso, and that is where Pat and Max stayed on their honeymoon. There was a pine tree in the front of the cabin that just about was the same height as Pat. The pine tree is still there, reaching high into the sky, although they have expanded the deck in the front of the cabin. They have just built around the pine tree for nostalgia purposes. After they returned to Muleshoe, their first home was in the Lenoir Addition. They have lived in Muleshoe all of their married life. However, Pat was born in Hereford, June the 9th, 1942, to Stan and Reba Barrett. She is the oldest of their two daughters. Her sister is Lynn Box. Pat moved to Muleshoe when she was in junior high, and the junior high school building on West Avenue G was brand new then. Many years later, Pat commuted to Tech to get her teacher's certificate and taught at junior high in that same building where she had been a student many years before. Max was born March the 18th, 1942 to H.D. and Hope King here in Muleshoe. His first cousin, Joe King, son of Robert and Lib King, was born that very same day. Max was also the oldest in his family. He grew up with a sister and a brother, Jeannie and Andy. Max and Pat reared their 4 children here in Muleshoe, and they all graduated from Muleshoe High School. Brett and his wife Ginger and Lance and his wife Sylvia all live in Lubbock. Kevin and his wife Shell live in Amarillo. Angie and her husband John Shemp live in El Paso. All of the siblings in the Max King family are very close, and they attribute that to their parents and the foundation that they gave them. They had a fun time growing up in their home here in Muleshoe. The Kings also have 9 grandchildren. Kelsey is 22 now, Reagan 18, and Tyler 16, and they belong to Brett and Ginger. Livia is 11 and is Lance and Sylvia's daughter. Caleb, 19, and Ashley, 15, are the children of Kevin and Shell. Will and Blake are twins and are now 8 years old, and Macy is 4, and they belong to Angie and John. The grandchildren are always asking their grandparents for advice, and the grandchildren have all learned to drive in Maxie's old brown Chevy pickup with the words on the back, "Don't park behind me," etc., etc., you know. And after selling King grain, Max was a favorite substitute teacher in Muleshoe schools. He now works for Barrett Produce, and he's always been a favorite master of ceremonies here in Muleshoe, keeping his audience laughing with his jokes or embarrassing them. Everyone is talking about the movie, The American Sniper. Taylor Swift is on the radio. The computer, the internet, Facebook, Twitter, iPads, and iPhones are a must. The year is now 2015, and here in Muleshoe, Mr. and Mrs. Max King are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. And we want to say congratulations to them, and may they have many, many more years of happy married life. And God bless you both, Pat and Max, and your lovely family. And you are being recognized by Hereford Feed Ingredients in downtown Muleshoe at 232 South Main Street, David and Liz Tips.
You can find the Sweetheart rotating every day, Monday through Friday, here on Reach Broadband Channel 6. Also find it on our website, MuleshoeTV.com. Click on the Sweetheart link at the top of the page. If you'd like to nominate someone to be our Sweetheart, call us here at Channel 6, 806-272-3990. We need a short biography and a picture.